probably the most up-to-date analysis on the game. I was pleased with, I'll just start with a number of different areas. I thought Justin Sorensen kicked the ball well, especially field goals, PATs. Kickoffs were good, not great, but nice to see the ball go through the uprights. Scott Ariano as a punter, thought really did a nice job in our for his start and for an opener. Ethan Manamaliuna, Wani Unga, and basically the defense played, I think, really, really well. Jamal Williams had a strong game. Taysom Hill, a strong game. Things to improve: throwing and catching the football, critical situations, too many drops that were drive changers, and more physical play and more continuity in the offensive front, not only in protection but especially early in the game, and just giving us room to run. And those would be the two main areas I would target right now: throwing and catching, especially catching in critical situations, and then our offensive front becoming more physical and a more dominant unit. That would be the areas that I would say can improve most.
Do you need new looks in any offensive line combinations at this point?
It will happen, and started happening today. And so I'm not going to say it's open season, but really every spot is being challenged. And so DeAndre Wesley played well in the limited time that he got in. Michael Yeck did a nice job. He might be able to play either tackle. Manaki Vaitai, when he played, did a nice job. And so where we start for this upcoming five will be really interesting to see. Most likely it will not be the same starting five that just finished our opener.
Can you update Cody and Wani Unga?
Cody, man, not much to say. He's had 1 day of rest from the game. They listed, and Cody himself, they're saying 80 to 85% is where they thought it was on Saturday. So, man, I'm hopeful for this upcoming week, especially with it being a night game. Gives us a little bit more time, or an evening game. Wani Unga, good news, CAT scans, x-rays, etc., all negative, but lack of strength. He can hardly do a push-up right now, but he played, I would say, if not the best game, one of the best games an inside linebacker has played that I've ever seen. He played really, really well, and there was no regard for his body, and I think he actually hurt it in the first quarter, and made it all the way, I think, to the second to last series, and then finally just couldn't go anymore.
Chest injury?
Yeah, and you'll have to talk to Jeff more, but almost the entire side of his body, they thought it might have been bruised ribs, broken ribs, punctured lung, pneumothorax, that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's somewhere in there, but it's none of it showed up on the X-rays, so they think mostly soft tissue.
He can play then this week?
It's a good question. We're hoping.
Coach, talk about your defensive front. Ethan Manamaliuna, 10 tackles. Man. Talk about him and Marcus Johnson in the middle.
So Ethan just he played I think 58 to 60 plays and at nose tackle and then out. I mean, he played so well. The combination and why they had such a hard time running it was basically between Ethan and Wani, and they just really played well. And then we put Marcus in. He got about 15 plays and was absolutely trustworthy. He can probably handle 5 more, I would say. And then we put Ethan at the end, and that gave us a little bit more size, where we could spell Remington, who's a little bit lighter, and it takes more energy to hold off some of the blocks for him.
You've put some quotes on Twitter in recent weeks, and any inspiring things, something you've tried to say to your team to get over this as fast as possible?
Oh, yeah. Man, I thought we played really hard. Didn't mean we necessarily played well, but I was encouraged, and I thought we gained some momentum, didn't lose any. It was a hard loss, really hard. And I'll tell you, I've never been through a 2-hour wait in a locker room like that, and I think that took its toll on me as well. I mean, that was hard, and so a lot of learnings from it. But I think our team is optimistic, encouraged, and feels like there was progress made. However, it also gave us a clear idea of what areas we had to work on. So the brutal facts are we need to get better up front, better at throwing and catching it. But man, our running back Jamal ran really, really well. Our defense played well. Our corners that there was so much question about, I thought did a nice job. And our kicking game looked better. We had one of our most experienced players miss an assignment on the block punt. It wasn't a unique rush. It was just a miscount, and we let a guy go free. So that was frustrating.
Can you talk more about Rob Daniel and the job he did?
Oh, I mean, yeah, he just was. I mean, I called the game like he was Jordan Johnson, like a returning player. I started out a little more tentative, just trying to see if he's going to be okay. And man, after about the second series, it required no consideration. And the same for Sky Pove and Dallin Levitt. It's only been one game, but I was encouraged by that.
Regarding brutal facts, 16 points on 93 plays has to bother you.
No question, especially when there were enough points on the board at the end of the game to win. And that's to have that margin for error, rushed it for 189 yards, but the number of attempts it took to do that. The points, though, to me, were tied to throwing and catching it, not to rushing it. And man, 5, 6, or 7 more catches that I thought were catchable balls. And I think things loosen up a little bit and the seams start opening. And I'll tell you, it was also unique managing a game at that tempo. And I have a lot to learn that way still. And just how fast, if we score or if we don't score, how fast we're back on the field and et cetera. And so we learned quite a bit about substitutions and who might have to play more and at what spots and special teams. And so I'm not saying it was starting over, but that was a first for me.
Did you have to make some accommodations for the speed up offense in play calling where maybe you didn't have the perfect play, but you were more interested in just running fast, going fast?
There's two parts to this, and I think this is probably worth talking about. It's going fast, which is the tempo. That's not the plays as they're going. I think we could have played harder up front, meaning more physical, and I think we sacrificed, or they were trained to sacrifice some of the physical play and continuity and execution for the speed. And so what we have to take a step in is not only going fast, but actually playing physical in our offensive front with that tempo. And that, to me, looked like the biggest adjustment. The other players handled it pretty well.
Back in 05, Coach, you let the air raid kind of philosophy go 3-4 games before you made some pretty significant adjustments to it. Relative to day one, are you already hinting at kind of taking a step back and saying 93 plays is great, but it may not be everything we're looking for?
I have no issue with the number of plays, especially if it relates to points, which the research has shown that that's what it will lead to. If for some reason that doesn't, then that's a whole different story. But I don't have any reason to think that it won't. And one game and really playing well enough to have a great chance to win. I don't think I see it as negatively as maybe others do.
How would you like to see Taysom progress in week 2?
Man. Well, as the game got on the line, there was a 3rd and 11, a 3rd and 12, a 3rd and 10, where he's taking shots and reaching ahead to get the first downs. And it's hard to say don't do that. To be able to sustain that for 12 more games, I'm not going to be able to do that. So the rest of the execution around him has to improve so that doesn't happen, or he doesn't have that burden. And then I would just say, I don't think the delivering the ball was as much of an accuracy issue as the guys catching it, and so I thought he had a good game, a strong game.
Some more teams are going up tempo this year, and do you find yourself or your staff watching other teams trying to glean ideas of what works?
Haven't yet. Most of that was in the off season, and we have a pretty clear idea what we want to do, and now how we tailor it to fit us specifically in our team. Certainly, you reserve right to do that, and I think that's what will happen. Over time, there'll be some adjustments made with not only personnel, but the type of plays we run. And the idea, though, behind it all was to give us an advantage to put points on the board, and that hopefully would give us our best chance, no matter who we play, to have a great chance to win.
What's the likely two deep if Mike linebacker if Wani can't go?
Austin Jorgensen is the next player in at that spot. Tyler Beck would be the next buck in if that happened. Spencer Hadley could play Mike, so Tyler Beck, Austin Jorgensen, Spencer Hadley, it would come within those three in some combination.
Can you talk about J.D. Foslov's contribution to special teams?
He's just really tough, and he's a sure punt returner, and sometimes thinks he can do more than what we want him to, but he's fearless, and so I'd rather have that and tell him to fair catch on occasion than have to encourage him to catch it and get a first down. And so, yeah.
Sorry, do you see Texas's game already?
I have, yeah.
New Mexico State.
Mm-hmm.
Did it feel a little bit like yours last year, scoreless early, and then they get going?
Yeah, they're talented. A lot of their personnel is similar to what we played 2 years ago, and a lot of the scheme is similar, not identical. They're using some personnel in different regards, but they're talented.
Coach, you have relationships with some coaches that you've played in the past. Do you have any type of special relationship with Mac Brown?
Yeah,
Anybody on that staff?
I do. Coach Brown as part of our Nike endorsement, I've been on, I think, 7 different trips with he and his wife Sally. I know him well. He's also president of the board of AFCA, which I'm on and sit on, and so we discuss all kinds of serious issues and know each other really well. And I think he's a good man, and I think he does a nice job coaching his team.
Thanks,
Okay.
Coach.